Hello and welcome to EMP Power Sports and Marine, beautiful St. Mary's, Idaho. Today we're talking Ducati. Many of you know my first shop was Ducati based. That's all we did was we built performance Ducatis and sold used NOS parts for Ducatis. We don't do much Ducati stuff anymore as there's not a lot of them up here in the mountains of Idaho, but the ones that are here usually come to this shop for sorting out. And this bike needs a lot of sorting out. This was purchased by a client of ours out of Driggs, Idaho. And unfortunately, he bought the bike sight unseen from eBay, and I don't think the seller was very honest with him. And this bike has a host of issues. These bikes are getting collectible. In another 5 or 10 years, I'd say this is probably going to be worth restoring. But right now, if it was an SPS or a Corsa RS or even an early 916V, I'd say let's go ahead and do it. If it was just the motor problems on a later one that was a monoposter version, I'd say go ahead and do it. But this thing is just, it's a lot of stuff's bad on this. So we're going to go over that. But before we go over this bike, please do me a favor, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, visit emppowersports.com for great deals on parts, apparel, tools, and equipment. You can use promo code ARMA at checkout for discounts. Now back to this. Issues I found thus far, client stated the bike was making excessive noise and he found metal shavings in the oil. The metal shavings I also found in the oil after just starting it for a few minutes. I heard the noise he was describing. It's actually in the valve train. It's excessive valve clatter. The valves are either very loose or very tight. No service records came with this bike, so you should always ask for service records and make your offer appropriately on those records. The valves on these bikes should be adjusted every 6,000 miles, and the timing belt should be done every 2 years or 12,000 miles. Anytime you adjust the valves, even if it's after 6 months, change the belts. Anytime the belts are disturbed, change the belts. Big thing. And only use Ducati factory OEM belts. Don't use the aftermarket crap. That stated, the valves are either very loose or very tight in this bike. I'll find out as soon as I get into it. I do believe it has the flaking rocker issue that plagued all 851 through 996 Desmo Quattros. The chrome was a little too soft from the factory, and especially if the valves go out of whack and out of spec, I should say. The chrome will come off and flake off the rockers. It'll lead into the cams if left unaddressed, and then it's a big mess. This bike has that problem, so we're going to go in there and verify it and then get these heads pulled off. If you find metal shavings in the oil of a Ducati this era, the other two things it could be if it's not your rockers or the sprite clutch, which I know is good on this bike, and the rod bearings, which are an unknown on this bike, but I don't think it's worth splitting the cases at this point. Another issue on this era of Ducati, which this bike has, is the stock crank breathers always fail and leak. They'll create oil soot all over, like you see here. And if they get bad enough, they'll actually crack and spray the back wheel with oil. I was on a ride with somebody that happened to once, and it's a big mess. So that can put you down. So this is going to get replaced, the billet aftermarket unit. Another thing to look for on a Ducati of this era, and these problems right here are also on 900 SS, M900, all the Ducatis of this era. Slave cylinders. This one's been upgraded to a OEM later model slave cylinder. That would be like 999 on up. So that's good. This has been taken care of. I like the aftermarket built ones that Yo-Yo-Dyne used to make. Fred's no longer making them. Evolution's gone, but I think STM's still making them. And there's one, I don't know, it's PVR or something like that. There's a few other companies still making them. But that's another thing to check on these bikes. 916 specific, they had these coolant overflow tanks can crack, so check for that. This one I think is just low from sitting, but these do crack, so check for that. The 99 on up charging systems, which this is, a 3-phase is a much better charging system. They can still have stator and regulator problems, but they're less likely. The early bikes, 94, 98, the single-phase charging, they were notorious for having charging system issues. So if the bike isn't holding a charge, it's probably your stator or regulator. Another thing on 916s, and this bike does have this problem, and it's already failed. I don't know if it'll show because I have it propped up when I first loosened the tank, which is I pretty much drained all the fuel out of. There was a little bit of gas still in it, and I saw gas leaking. So these plastic original connectors have failed. Even if they haven't failed, it's a good idea to replace them with some brass or aluminum connectors. I have CRC brass connectors on mine. They look like hard chrome because I do have a 916 homologated in my collection. It's off-site right now. But these stock ones failed. If left unattended when they are leaking like this, so this bike will not be leaving like this, the gas can actually drip into that vertical cylinder spark plug hole And if that happens, the bike can go up in flames. I watched a really nice 916 burn to the ground on Angeles Forest and Angeles Crest Road on the corner of it many years ago. They failed. The bike went up in flames. There's nothing the owner and I could do besides watch it burn. Being on a Ducati myself, I stopped to help him in any way I could, and that was a sad day. On this bike specific, I noticed somebody zip-tied the broken gauges on. So that's a red flag for me when I'm buying a bike. Other things to check on these is, especially to know if you want to know if they've been down, 916s with stock bars, which these are not. Somebody put some aftermarket higher bars on because they are kind of torture racks. Clamps look stock, but these bar tubes are risen. I don't know what they are, if they're speedy motor driven, but there's something with a little bit of a rise. But the stock ones, when they go full lock in an accident, the bars will usually make contact with the tank and the frame. So you can tell this bike's been down, and those are damaged, which is sad. See what else we can pick on this bike. I think the 2001s, all of them are supposed to have a 5-spoke Marchesini. A buddy of mine that also knows old Ducati says that the 3 spokes, although they should be, I think, gray or gold matching the frame color. This is a gray frame. The 3 spokes, which I always thought were just 94 to 98 gold frames. Or sorry, 94 to 99 gold frames. I thought all 2001 silver frames came with 5 spokes, but a friend of mine told me I'm incorrect, that the base Bioposto model would have come with these older 3 spokes. So these could be the correct wheels, but somebody's painted those black. Usually the wheels match the frame color. Frame color 94 through 99 would be gold. Like I said, with a 3-spoke matching wheel. And then most of the silver frames from 2000, 2001 would have a 5-spoke. They made different versions of this bike. This most standard and lowest trim level being this one right here. It's a Bioposto. So it is a 2-seater with a steel subframe and buddy pegs. It has a lower shock. This one has a Sachs on it. It really should have been a Showa. Somebody put an Olin sticker on it. It's not. It's a Sachs. So we do have a Showa for it that the client sourced out of Australia. If you upgraded to a Monoposto version, the earlier ones would still have a Showa, but everything past the really early 916s, and even some of them had it, depending on what Ducati had on the time, they should all have an Olin's rear shock, a genuine one, and they should have an aluminum subframe with a solo seat tail. Going one step up from there, you go into an S, and that'll have some carbon fiber bits. Some of them are numbered. Those would have an Olin's damper to go with. And in 2001, the S got Olin's forks. Going up from there to what I have, an SPS in 2000, which is the one that I have. The SPS homologated, you get all the carbon goodies, Olin's front and rear, Olin's damper, Pankel connecting rods, hot cam in it. They're essentially road-kitted race bikes. And then the top of the heap would be an RS, which is a club racer. It is a Corsa full-on blown race bike, not road legal. They also made an R version that replaced the SPS in late 01, which is just an SPS homologated with different trim. Those had carbon fiber bodywork on them as well, and replaced the SPS lineage homologated bikes. So I'm just going over my history of Ducatis here. Things to check if you're buying a Ducati also is the VIN. Any standard base model, mono or Bioposto or S, should be ZDM 1SB. So this is a standard frame. Once you get into an SPS frame, I can't remember the designation on the earlier ones, but on later SPSs, it'll be ZDM 3SB, and the final ones will be ZDM 3H. So a 3 is race, a 1 is street, SB superbike, H is homologation. But a true SPS would be 3SB or 3H, and any of the road-going S or base models are 1SB like this. So this is a base model. If you're looking at 916s, the early ones, the 11th character is something else to check. If it has a V, it's a Varese and worth considerably more money than a B Bologna. All the later ones, except for the very first few built in 94, maybe early 95, that were built in the Varese factory, that were all handmade because there's a fire in Bologna. The rest of them were made at the Bologna factory once they rebuilt it. So this is obviously a Bologna bike, being a 2001. So just to go over quick, because I've kind of had a long-winded thing going on right here. Things to check when you're buying these bikes. The most basic things to check are check the crank beater, check the slave cylinder, ask for service records and make sure that the valve train has been maintained. They're Achilles heel on these bikes, so make sure that the valves have been adjusted every 6,000 miles like they should have been, and the timing belts are within 12,000 or 2 years. If you don't know, definitely have somebody that knows what they're doing. Check the valve specs and replace the timing belts. If the rockers have not been refaced and they're starting to show wear, definitely address that. Check the coolant overflow tanks for cracks and leaks. You should be doing that every ride on one of these. Check for broken clocks, dents in gas tanks, things like that. Signs that the bike's been down or just not been well cared for. Check for inappropriate hardware. I don't know what the point of having this for a gas tank mounting fastener would be. It literally just goes right through there. It's the incorrect one. The correct one's actually very specific, so maybe somebody lost it or broke it. I don't know what the story is there. But this bike has a whole host of problems. I'm going to go through it and try to figure out everything else that's going on, try to sort out the valve train for the guy, and do a few little minor repairs just to get him going. I suggest with this bike, he just has a little bit of fun with it and then maybe moves it down the road to the next guy. I know where there's some really nice 916s and 996s out there. Should somebody want a nice, correct example, both whether you want a stalker that's unmolested or you want a hot rod that was done right. I know where many examples are. This bike right here is it's rough. I would not recommend this one to anybody, and really do your research when you're buying these bikes because they're not cheap to fix. One good thing I did find on this one is it does have the BCM air filters. So that's a nice upgrade. I'm not sure if these are still in production. I actually have a set for mine. The stock air cleaners came out. They go like this one over here. These are carbon aftermarket, but the stock ones came apart and the air cleaner was actually in. The filter was actually in the air runner. When you go to the aftermarket carbon that are one piece, there's no place to insert those, so you have to go to an aftermarket option. The BCMs actually are the best. Fastbuy Ferracci used to make a big foam one. I ran one of those. I didn't care for it. Mad Duck made little foam ones that went on top of throttle bodies. I didn't care for those. These seem to work pretty well. If you are running BCM or stock style air cleaners, please make sure that you lock tight the fuel tank front mount. There's a little tiny nipple that bolts the gas tank underneath here and goes into a little nipple in the air box. And the male part of it, which is connected to the tank, the screws can fall out due to vibration, and they will fall right into your throttle body. And if that happens, you're going to hand grenade your motor. So if you have one of these bikes, make sure you or authorized mechanic red Loctites those. That'll save you a lot of headache down the road. So hopefully you found this video useful. We do love old Ducatis here. I own several of them. I do maintain several of them for other people. Once again, if you haven't already, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you found this to be useful. Please visit us at emppowersports.com for great deals on parts, apparel, tools, and equipment. And you can use promo code ARMA, even if you're not an ARMA member, to get discounts at checkout. Thanks for visiting us, and keep the shiny side up.